This is the most hated place on Earth, a desert that is almost devoid of human life. But still, a magnificent engineering feat is being built here, which is no less than a miracle in itself. In the middle of the Atacama Desert, on the top of a mountain 10,000 feet above the sea, the construction of the world's largest telescope is underway. When completed, this telescope, 40% taller than the Leaning Tower of Pisa, will be able to see the distant planets of our universe 5,200 times closer than our eyes. And these images will be 15 times sharper than the Hubble Space Telescope. But building the world's largest telescope in the driest place on Earth is no less than a miracle. The Atacama Desert is the driest area in the world after Antarctica, where there are some parts where not a single drop of rain has fallen in the history. This telescope will go back in time and see the first galaxies, stars, and how will it be able to see planets? How can this telescope help scientists in finding other planets like Earth? And above all, what difficulties did the scientists and the construction team face during the construction of a dome as big as a football field in the heights of the Atacama Desert? Welcome back to the videos of past empires. Viewers, this is the Atacama Desert of Chile, spread over 1,000 kilometers on the Pacific Ocean front of South America. It is considered the driest place in the world after Antarctica. There are such unique colors of nature here that we are probably seeing for the first time. Volcanoes are found here very frequently. In addition, Death Valley is a desert filled with salt and spreads over thousands of square kilometers and a series of fogs that are rare in the whole world. But one thing that is most essential for life is not found here: water. The landscape of the Atacama Desert is such that it does not rain here. Even for a few, there are areas that have not seen a single drop of water in the sky. Due to all these features, the Atacama Desert presents the appearance of an alien planet, and perhaps for this reason the European Space Agency also tested its Mars rover here. This extraordinary project is under construction on this mountain, 1,300 kilometers away from the Chilean capital Santiago and 130 kilometers away from the nearest city, 10,000 feet above sea level, which will give humanity the opportunity to see the view of another world in space. The European Southern Observatory, also known as ESO, is building a very large telescope on this site, which has been named the Extremely Large Telescope, or ELT for short. Although its construction is not yet complete, it will not be difficult to guess why it has been given this name. A very large mirror will be installed in this telescope, the diameter of which will not only be 39 meters larger, but also 4 times larger than the largest telescope so far. This mirror can collect 100 million times more light than the human eye, but the condition is that not a single particle of dust falls on it. To avoid this, the telescope will be covered with a huge steel dome which weighs about 2,400 pickup trucks, almost 6,000 tons. 2 huge doors will be installed on this dome which will remain closed during the day. This dome is so high that the Statue of Liberty can also stand inside it, and if we talk about expansion, an entire football field can also be built inside it. A high-deck platform has been installed below it, which enables the entire telescope to rotate 360 degrees so that it is easy to see any part of the sky at night. It is a matter of thinking that in this desolate part of the world, where there is no settlement in the distance, how could the construction team have started this complex project, especially where there were no roads, electricity, or water? And the construction from above was also on the top of the mountain. For the project, ESO first inspected many locations in Europe, but in the end they had to choose this location in South America. ESO is a European government organization with members from 16 countries. ESO's project head says that there are many reasons behind selecting this location for the ELT. The first is that they wanted a place for the telescope where there are no cities in the distance. The reason for this is light pollution. You must have noticed that even at night, there is often light above cities, and if there are clouds above, they are also clearly visible. This light is much more than the light from a star thousands of light years away, which can spoil the image generated by the telescope. But many such locations are also located in the mountains in Europe itself. So why was this location in South America chosen? It is not enough to protect the ELT from light pollution alone. It is also very important to have clear skies. Europe has a mostly tropical climate, which is why there are often clouds here. But the Atacama Desert, because it is one of the driest parts of the world, is where the sun shines most of the year. Out of 365 days, there are 320 days without clouds, which is very important for seeing distant galaxies. In 2010, the ESO team tested different locations and finally found this location in the Atacama Desert to be the best, a 3,000-meter high mountain called Cerro Armazones. But the problem was that, like other mountains, it was quite a sharp mountain, meaning that any kind of construction on it would not be possible in this condition. Therefore, it was very important to cut the top of this mountain and straighten an area as large as 7 football fields. Imagine building a 3,000-meter high sharp mountain and a huge field on top of it. This work was very difficult and dangerous to do with the help of excavators. Therefore, in 2014, the construction team sought the help of explosives. Holes were made at various places on the top of the mountain, explosives were placed, and they were torn down using a remote controller. In this process, the top 100 meters of the mountain were blown up, in which 4.7 million there were cubic meters of soil, enough to fill a 1911 Olympics-sized swimming pool. After removing the soil and rocks, the top was leveled and a path was built to reach the top. But that was just the beginning. The mountain was as flat as 7 football fields, but a huge problem emerged. A problem that stalled the construction of the ELT for the next 5 years. The engineering team noticed that sinkholes were forming in places on the top of the mountain. They would fill them back in, but after a while, many spots would automatically sink in. This was the biggest problem standing in the way of laying the foundation of the ELT. In fact, the explosives that were used to blow up the top of the mountain had caused considerable damage to the mountain's core. Cracks appeared in the rocks and soil began to sink in from place to place. Every few months, the rocks would move and new sinkholes would form. To deal with this problem, engineers drilled several times in this area, and with the help of vibration, the artificial ground was stabilized so that all the sinkholes to be made were made at once. Finally, the vibration method worked and the top of the mountain was leveled once again by filling in the sinkholes. This entire process took the next 5 years to complete, and now the next step was to lay the foundation of the ELT. This was not going to be an ordinary foundation. This part of the Atacama Desert is a seismically active region where earthquakes are very common. To protect the expensive parts of the telescope from earthquakes, a foundation was kept separate from the dome above. Several hydraulic shock absorbers have been installed between the foundation and the dome, which do not allow the earthquake shocks to reach the metal dome and the telescope mirror inside it. In 2023, the foundation work was completed, and now it was the turn of the steel structure of the telescope's amazing dome. The dome was built in separate sections at the base camp at the bottom of the mountain. After that, these sections to transport the structure to the top of the mountain, remote-controlled trucks were used, which carried the steel frame one by one to the top of the mountain. After reaching the top, the cranes joined these formidable structures in assemblies like Legos. The road network to reach this part of the Atacama Desert was already well established, because 20 kilometers away from the ELT site, there is another ESO telescope called the Very Large Telescope, or VLT. So for the ELT, the same road network was extended to the Sierra and Amazonas. The ELT is behind the creation of the world's largest telescope. Its mirror, which is 39 meters large, is currently being built inside the dome to control this large mirror. It itself is so large that you can guess from the worker who is standing on the frame. This 39-meter mirror is being made by combining a total of 800 small pieces, whose job is to multiply any light coming from space and reach the secondary mirror M2. From M2, this light will go to M3 and then M4. M4 will make the image sharper, and for this purpose powerful laser beams mounted on the dome will be used. These lasers are usually set to a wavelength that excites sodium atoms in the 90-kilometer sky, causing them to glow and become an artificial star. The telescope uses this artificial star as a reference point to detect in real time how the atmosphere is distorting or blurring the light. When the distortion in the atmosphere is detected, then the blurring in the telescope's image is easily eliminated. This entire process is called adaptive optics. After removing the blurring of the image from M4, this light goes to M4, and here the image is corrected and sent for processing. Enough about the wonderful working of the telescope. The biggest question here is that through ELT, what we will eventually get, ELT, will be the only telescope that will be able to take direct photographs of exoplanets outside our solar system, planets that are suspected of harboring life. Currently, other telescopes can only see these exoplanets indirectly when they pass in front of their star. Their shadow is visible. Through direct photography, we can find out what the atmosphere is like on these planets, and the atmosphere will tell us whether there is water there or not, carbon dioxide or oxygen, or whether there is any creature that is creating pollution like Earth. Due to the large mirror of ELT, it will be able to collect a lot of light, and through it we can even see into the early days of the universe. If you don't know, let me tell you that light has a fixed speed and it cannot travel faster than that. By taking advantage of something, we can easily see into the past of the universe. For example, when our sun rises every day, we are actually looking at the past of the sun, because it takes about 8 minutes for sunlight to reach the earth. The Hubble Space Telescope can see back 1.34 billion years in the universe, meaning its mirror captures the faint light that was emitted in the universe 1.34 billion years ago and has reached Hubble today. In contrast, the 39-meter wide ELT mirror is able to see light 100 million years behind the Hubble telescope, meaning 1.35 billion light years away. According to scientists, the Big Bang that created our universe happened 1.38 billion years ago. This means that the ELT can also capture the scene 300 million years after the birth of the universe. It is also important for you to know that the ELT is indeed quite large, but it will be the largest of the telescopes based on mirrors only, while radio telescopes have a very large dish like the one in GoldenEye. Instead of mirrors, these telescopes look into the past through radio waves, and then their image is created through a computerized process. But in terms of direct viewing, the ELT is still going to be the largest telescope in the world. Talking about the cost involved, the cost of the ELT has been estimated at a staggering $160,136 billion rupees. This is almost as much as the cost of building the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa. According to experts, the construction of ELT will be completed in 2029. Once fully ready, it may be able to answer the biggest question: are we really alone in this universe, or is there life on a planet like Earth thousands of light years away? I hope you will like and share this video of past empires. Thank you very much for your loving comments. I will see you in the next wonderful video.